Welcome to the AI Frame podcast, a space where we explore how founders, innovators, and investors are navigating the world of artificial intelligence. Each episode brings you thoughtful conversations with people redefining how technology meets strategy, separating what's real from what is noise. I'm Ana Rojo-Echeburúa, doctor in mathematics, AI consultant and strategist, and your host. So grab a coffee and let's frame the future of AI together. Today, I'm speaking with Kirsty Bathgate and David Nicol, who are bringing two worlds together, coaching and artificial intelligence, but in a way that is designed to scale leadership across organizations. Their company, Bravyn, is building coaching systems that combine real behavioral science with not only AI, but also thoughtful design aligned to how people actually grow. This is a conversation about leadership in the AI era, what changes, what doesn't, and how we build systems that support people without losing the human. Welcome to the pod, guys. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Great, thanks.
Before we talk about Bravyn and AI, I want to start with both of you. So who are you? How do you describe the work that you're doing today? And how did you get there?
How I would describe the work I do just now is I train, guide, and supervise an automated AI coach that we've built. And how did I get there? I've been a professional accredited executive coach for the last 15 years. Prior to that, I built and scaled a tech tourism business. All of that led me to wanting better leadership in the world that is more emotionally intelligent and competent. And being able to bring that at scale is really difficult. So that's why Bravyn.
Yeah, so I've been a kind of tech leader in the Edinburgh tech scene for 30 years. I've been through multiple startups. I kind of early on in my career kind of moved away from being a pure programmer into leadership, and which just dropped in the deep end really. And through my career, I've just been a tech leader, growing companies up to exit point, to acquisition by US companies, that kind of thing. And then trying to doing the integration with those larger companies. Anyway, so I kind of had a few startups myself. Latter one was a whiskey world. Tech meets whiskey, which is kind of weird combination. Anyway, so I got to the point where I kind of needed some coaching. So I'd never had coaching, so that was something I felt a wee bit isolated. I felt lonely at the top. I could do with some kind of guidance on how to deal with that. And so I met Kirsty through Scottish Enterprise about 4 years ago, and we first Kirsty was my coach. A lot of things I've been involved with. I've been taking things that were exclusive for a smaller demographic, let's say a higher net worth, or people who are involved in investment, or able to buy full casks of whiskey, and taking that to more democratizing that, and one conversation led to another, and democratizing coaching was really where we started off, working together on a platform that would be able to do that.
I want to go back to the scaling side of things. Yeah. So if you can tell me a little bit about that.
The first thought was about how do we scale coaching and make it accessible to many more people, because executive coaching is reserved at the moment mainly for senior leaders. It's very expensive and there aren't a lot of good accredited coaches. I work with scaling companies and leaders in those companies much earlier in their journey. And the difference that getting coaching earlier in their journey through the programs that we run made a significant difference to them, their competence, their confidence, how they treated their team. I love running those programs, but I couldn't scale them. So it made me think about how I could scale coaching. And as David said, we were working together and I had an idea that tech might be able to do it, but no real idea how. And we had lots of trials and errors with different kinds of tech to make it work over a period of time. And we actually built a programmatic version of what is now an AI coach. So we built what I guess it would be an expert learning system.
Yeah, like an expert system.
It was like mad spider diagrams of how coaching conversations could go, and we had to try and pre-program a lot of what was going on. And then on top of that, we layered AI, like what I would call old AI, like machine learning and pattern recognition and algorithms to understand the person that was being coached more. But when we did that, we realised even that we couldn't scale because it was going to be astronomical to layer in the amount of AI we needed at that point. That was scalable to a degree, but the cost of it would have been huge. And then generative AI came along after trying to work out what that was for a wee while. We worked out that's probably our route to be able to scale it globally. which is what we wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, the expert system was kind of, we ended up trying to map out all these conversations, but of course a conversation can take many paths. And so then we decided we need to break a conversation down into subcomponents of conversations. And then those subcomponents can happen at different points in the conversation. What we ended up with was the risk of infinite loops, never getting to an end point. These literally database systems were infinite looping. So we had to stop that. And luckily that's when OpenAI came about. So that was a solution to have a much more fluid technology that, we could train and navigate through rather than having to kind of pre-program everything up front.
This is a really good example for a really good case to apply generative AI. One of the issues that I'm seeing now for other companies or their startups is that they're trying to apply generative AI to absolutely everything. And in this case, I think is justify the application of generative AI for what you're saying. But there are other problems in where I think a more rule-based approach is more suitable, or, classical machine learning is a more suitable approach. So are you still implemented older types of AI? So are you solely based on generative AI, or you are also applying older techniques?
Yeah, we use multiple layers of different machine learning and other techniques like NLP, natural language processing. So we do tokenization. We have like a bunch of agents that run at different points to make the whole experience more kind of supportive for the users, doing summarization, lifting out actions, even doing classification. So we've obviously got a lot of guardrails and use a lot of evaluators to make sure that there's a robustness to the conversations that are happening and they're properly kind of monitored.
I really like that you mentioned agentic AI when we're talking about non-generative solutions, because I think there's a big misconception about agentic solutions being solely generative AI, which is absolutely not. They can be, but not all of those solutions are generative in nature. And I also like that you're mentioning all of these other approaches that are non-generative AI, and also the moderation strategies and the governance and evaluation layer, which is something that I think is overlooked in lots of situations, and lots of startups don't take that into consideration. So they're so focused on releasing something as quick as possible that they don't take this into account. But if you don't take it into account, if you don't make sure that the solution is robust enough, it's like starting the house from the roof.
Yeah, what we're always trying to do is look at why we're doing something, not just jumping in with both feet. So things like tool calls, which is another strategy for making AI kind of talk to other parts of your ecosystem. We only did them when we thought that was the right time to do those. So let's say you're planning for a difficult conversation that you're going to have at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And the AI, the coach, will say to you, well, you really want to kind of block out some time before that. Let's block out 30 minutes in your calendar from 9:30 till 10 to make sure you've got that headspace to prepare for that difficult conversation. So it's not about being the personal assistant putting the time in for the the actual meeting. It's about giving you the headspace and the prep time to make sure you're ready and blocking out time, and rather than going from it's like in today's world when you're back-to-back meetings because you're not in an office anymore a lot of the time. So you kind of like schedule your day and it's like chung all the way through the day, and that's kind of like not the right way to work, really.
And I guess that's a way that you guys have to embed a little bit the human aspect into this AI solution.
Yeah, absolutely. And the governance thing's critical because I'm a professional accredited coach, and there are lots of people calling themselves coaches that aren't. We built Bravyn using global code of ethics, using accreditation standards, using accredited models, but making sure that the coach coached, because generative AI is, the big LLMs are trained to give you answers and tell you what you want to hear. And they're also, depending which one you try, pretty sycophantic. That is absolutely not what a coach's job is. Exactly. So that's where the governance became really important, because how did we know that our coach was coaching properly and doing exactly what we said? I was the human evaluator for all the conversations to start with, and then we trained AI to be able to evaluate it and other evaluators. But I was the first person that all the coaching conversations had to go through to make sure it was actually properly coaching, and to tweak the coach and retrain it and So that's why I say I now supervise an automated AI coach, because I spend a lot of time doing that. But that's why governance was so important, because there's no way I would put my name to anything going out into the market that wasn't actually a proper coach. But we're not trying to replace human coaches, because there's still an element for that to bring it back to your human connection. So it is about coaching people to have better human relationships,
right,
and to be more emotionally intelligent at work, and to be able to stand back and take somebody else's perspective and take that into account. So that's why the time to prepare for the conversations that David's speaking about, and then use Bravyn to sound out how they're going to think about it. And the feedback we get is that it's changed my mindset, it's made me more competent, I see other people's point of view, I have a different result from my meetings. We're not trying to take away the human connection, we're trying to make human connections much stronger and better.
I believe that the AI is here to assist, not to replace. You're talking about all these success metrics, and I think another one is trust.
Yeah.
We were mentioning that actually in the previous episode, but with all this governance layer that have put in place, then your users can also trust what you build, which I think is massive in this space.
We contract with each user that comes on as I would contract with somebody as a human, so they know exactly what to expect, what not to expect. We're very clear. We're not going to give you answers. We're very clear. We're going to help you to learn. We're going to build your critical thinking. We speak about the alternatives, because I do human onboarding and then we do coaching contracting within the app. And we speak about the fact that if you're used to using certain other models that just give you the answer and tell you you're wonderful, you'll probably find Bravyn slightly annoying for the first week. But it is worth the perseverance. You're learning, you're growing. And if we come back to the name, that's what the name's all about. You've got to be brave to step out of your comfort zone.
I love it.
But we don't want it to be aggressively brave. So that's the YN. So it's Bravyn, stepping out your comfort zone, growing into your future self.
There's a difference between being aggressive and being assertive.
Absolutely. So it's about being brave to step out and being assertive.
In your view, what can AI do better than humans, and what can humans do better than AI?
Probably naturally comes with less bias and judgment than humans, because we have that very much built in, even though most of us like to pretend we don't, or that we can circumnavigate it easily. We can't necessarily. So I would say that that's definitely one thing. Accessibility is a big thing that AI is going to give. You know, to give people access to tools and learning and education of all different kinds that they couldn't get in all different parts of the world. Making sure it is not done in isolation from the human connection, and that it builds on that human connection and skills, and doesn't isolate people will be quite important.
AI's got better memory than humans, so
that's true.
You know, so we ingest, or we can ingest, company culture documents, employee manuals, the objectives of the engagement with Bravyn can all be ingested and recalled within conversations
in seconds.
Yeah, and probably in a much better way than a human coach could do, because
that's true.
And I use AI a lot as a developer. I do, I spend all my days developing, but I don't do it in isolation. I'm sitting using AI agents to help me, and the recall there is hugely better than mine. And I wouldn't say I'm the best developer in the world, but my recall is not anywhere near as good as what I get from the AI agents I use.
I would say, well, if we're talking about generative AI, they're more confident than humans, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. If you're so confident about your answers, you might say something that is completely wrong.
Yeah.
But you're saying it with all the confidence in the world. You guys have worked with senior leaders for decades. So what skills do you think are becoming essential now that they were not essential 10 years ago with this, boom of AI, especially generative AI?
10 years is a long time, and I think leadership has changed dramatically over that time. I think people need to be more empathetic, more emotionally intelligent than they might have got away with being 10 years ago. I think resilience is a big thing that I never used to hear about so much in leadership. And I think that's partly because the world is a lot less certain. The change is so fast. So I think those two things add a layer of stress to leadership. So adaptability, critical thinking, being able to assess things have always been essential to leadership, but probably more so. I think there's going to be some really tricky decisions for senior leaders to make in the next few years, because I think there's going to have to be really big decisions in terms of what do we do about new entrants to the workplace. If actually a lot of those jobs have been automated, but we need our next generation of workers to come in, how do we upskill them differently? And probably they're going to need to learn human skills much more quickly than they might have had to do in previous generations, because a lot of the work that they may have learned on, I would anticipate being automated. So therefore, where do they add value with their human knowledge, and how do we upskill them? And so I think there's going to be a lot of tough decisions in how we develop people. And therefore, that's going to need even more empathy and emotional intelligence and really long-term strategic thinking, because I think it would be easy to cost cut by thinking you can take a layer out of your organisation that you don't need, that you can automate. What happens when there is nobody to promote to the middle layer, where they need those customer negotiation skills and all of that? If you've not got a pipeline coming through, how are you going to do that? I think there's a lot of opportunities to develop people differently there, but I think it needs a really long-term strategic view.
Because of the rapid nature of how technology is evolving, but not only that, how we are interacting with technology. And at the end, yes, that is a technical aspect, but also a human aspect. What is one behavior leaders need to develop today to succeed in a world in where AI is embedded in absolutely everything?
I think that's about understanding what is the point, what are we actually trying to achieve with this? Rather than just jumping on, here's something AI could, well, why are we trying to do it in the first place?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a statistic came out from MIT, 95% of pilots are failing in the AI world. And I guess that was quite a skewed statistic. The term AI is probably coming quite synonymous with tech in a way, use the tools as the need presents rather than enforce.
So that goes back to being able to critically analyse whether you need AI or not, and think strategically for how you're going to use it, and then think about the impact of those decisions, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because, and that wasn't all AI. 95% of all AI projects that failed, that was people trying to run their own internal...
Yeah, the pilots.
Pilots, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To wrap it up, guys, what's the question you wish more leaders in the AI space would ask themselves?
I think it's one word. Why? I totally subscribe to the theory of five whys. Why are we doing something? Why? But why? And really drilling down to the real reason that we're redesigning a product, or we're releasing a product, or we're redesigning a process. There's no point in reinventing the wheel unless there's some real reason or benefit to why we're doing that.
And for me, it would be, what is the impact and what are the consequences? And beyond first level consequences, what are the much wider consequences of the decisions I'm making? And have I really considered that?
I think it's related to what you were saying about thinking a little bit more ahead. I think that strategy should be not only short-term solutions, but also long-term solutions. Well, look, guys, we're going to leave it here. Thank you so much for this. I think we had a really interesting conversation. I really like what you guys are doing at Bravyn.
Thanks very much, Anna.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the AI Friend podcast. If you like this episode, follow the show and share with someone who would love it too. I'm Ana Rojo-Echeburúa, and I'll see you next time for another conversation that reframes how we think about AI.